I have a guest. I'm not alone today. We'll be talking to Beznik Zakiri about the 2025 White Sox. We'll look ahead to the offseason, and we'll talk about Chase Meidroth because later on in the show, report cards are in for the second baseman. Is he the future at the position? We'll talk about that here on the CHGO White Sox Podcast. CHGO White Sox Podcast, presented to you by our hopes and dreams. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, alongside me, my producer, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. Happy Wednesday to Daniel Barry. Thanks for hanging out with us. Today, we'll be talking to our pal Beznik Zakiri of On Tap Sports. We'll be talking about the 2025 White Sox. We'll be talking about the offseason, and then that will end in a discussion about Chase Meidroth. Later on in the show, we'll go into Chase's full 2025 season. We'll give him grades for his offensive performance, his defensive performance, and his overall performance. I feel like it's actually mathed out his grades this time. I feel like we actually figured it out. This is unlike Colson Montgomery, where 2 A- added up to an A+. Let's welcome in our guest, our pal Beznik Zakiri over on Tap Sports. You can follow him at Bez Beyond the Pen over on Twitter. Read his work on ontapsportsnet.com. Hello, BZ.
Sean, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on.
My favorite Southsider. Love having you on. Very excited to have BZ on. And I just knew that you were a real one when you were willing to pick up a Twitter phone call. I didn't know that existed until today when I was looking for a shirt and my phone started beeping in some new fashion that I've never heard before.
Well, it's nice to hear that you were thinking of me while you were putting on a shirt. But yeah, I didn't know that feature existed either. But I was going to pick up. I was like, oh man, maybe something serious is going on.
Unlike Mookie Betts, the only thing I can think about when I laid my head to bed at rest is gentlemen. Okay, let's get rid of that. Can we cut that? Let's get into the 2025 White Sox. BZ, what did you make of being at the Leinenkugel Craft Cave and being able to interview some of the White Sox brass? I thought it was real cool that Todd Welter included you in his foray. You got to be a part of that. I thought it was a very interesting move by the Sox, one that I still cannot process to this day, that they actually allowed us in the building. What do you think that says about the White Sox organization that they're letting podcasters into the craft cage? Or the craft.
Well, it says a few things, and my neighbor who lives a couple doors over, she works for the team, and I texted her a picture of my press pass, and I'm like, man, they just let anyone in here now, huh? But yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that same way, but also, kind of cool that they're willing to reach out to the fan community and the blogs and the podcasters and bring them in and let them talk to the higher ups, or I mean, some people talk to the higher ups. I guess no offense to Connor McKnight, shout out to him. No offense to Mike, who is in the director of marketing. Good guy, but yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty cool to talk to Connor. He was pretty transparent with everything that we asked him about, and just a great guy to talk baseball with.
Well, yeah, no, I'm honestly frustrated because I know that you want to be talking to Gene Watson and John Triffin and Brooks Boyer, of course. How could I forget Brooks Boyer? But Connor hasn't been on the show. I've tried to book Connor, and Connor has not been able to make it work. So you got at least a more exclusive interview, I feel. When they didn't give me Connor, I was a little bummed. I was like, oh, man, I don't get to talk to the guy I know. Like, that was going to be the layup. Like, oh, sweet, I get to talk to McKnight.
Yeah. Great guy, super knowledgeable. He had some interesting things to say about, where the team is headed. He's pretty in tune with, what's going on in college baseball, what's going on in the minors with the White Sox. So he gave us his take on what's going on there and how they're trying to develop players a little more holistically and make them more well-rounded players, just in the field, on the mound, at the plate, everything. And I hope that some more power develops because I see Sam Antonacci's name everywhere on my timeline, but I look at his slugging percentage that was below 400 in Double-A last year. So he's got a ways to go. I'm not giving up on the guy. I'm sure he can develop into some more power, but it seems to be common across the organization.
Yeah, that's why I like talking to you. You were starting to talk about power, and then I'm like, oh, I could bring up Antonacci, and there you go. You're just bringing him up regardless. He's the hottest prospect in the AFL. I feel Kevin McGonigal, who's second, is a little bit more interesting because of the way that he hits the hell out of the baseball, but that's just me. You were the barometer of fun bad throughout the White Sox Twitter 2025 season.
Apparently.
Did you buy into any of it? Was there any point where you're like, all right, hey, this team has turned the corner and some of the ice that built up from the 2024 season has melted? Because my cold heart melted a little bit. They were not fun bad at the end of the day. They were bad. They lost 100 games, so I'll give it to you on that. But at any point, did you think like, oh, maybe Sean's making sense?
Well, there was actually a point, and I was like, right when I'm about to call them fun bad, then you're like, this team isn't even bad. They're just fun. And I'm like, God damn it, Sean. I was just about to come around on this. But, I mean, the second half had a couple of fun spurts. They came out of the gate and went 10-4. They kind of ran out of gas there. And the second half went like this. I have this written down. They went 10-4, followed by 6-18, followed by 8-2, then ended the season 3-12. And that 3-12 was winning 2 out of the last 3 against Washington in Washington. So, I mean, there was some fun in there, but there was some really terrible. I mean, in April, it looked really bleak. April was another horrendous start to the season, which is something I hope changes in 2026 because this was the 23, 24, 25, third year in a row where they just were abysmal in April to start the season. So hopefully some of the, improvements that were made carry over into next year. And they come out of the gate a little bit better.
Yeah, if they play decent baseball in April and May, they can go 72-90. Let's go.
72-90 is the 2019 White Sox, who are the undeniable definition of fun bad. That team was almost 500. They were like 2 games under 500 at the All-Star break. I was like, that was like, hey, we're coming out of this rebuild, and this is for real. This team can actually be something. So whereas now I've kind of learned my lesson, and I'm like, I hope we don't. We got these milestones that we still have to reach, 70 wins, 80 wins. I'm like, I hope they don't get stuck in any of those places. And, to our point earlier is the power going to come because that will propel us to 90 wins.
Right, and that's why the Coulson thing was just such a relief. It was like, oh, I can't actually take all this power. This doesn't process my White Sox brain that this kid could just come up and hit 20 homers and 255 at-bats. And that's the one thing that you bring up where they might get stuck because they're building their model after the Brewers, who are having great success, the Rays, who had great success, but now it's middling-ish, the Giants, who had 1 year of 107 wins, and then every other year of like mid-baseball, and then the A's, where the A's are like always better than you think, but never playoff good. So I do have that fear with you as well. The other fear is if they're fun bad in 2026, there's the possible strike or lockout in 2027, which would be very akin to the COVID season, screwing up all of the 2020 fun that should have happened in 162 games. So, it's a great time to be a White Sox fan. When you look at 2025, who do you give the most credit to? Or is it, like in a good way, more of an organizational thing where it's not just Chris Getz, it's the people that Chris Getz pulled in, and you can argue it's not just Bannister or Fuller or Venable, it's the whole machine itself.
I would, I guess, call it the whole machine. I mean, like I was saying, we looked abysmal in April, and then you started to get some reinforcements that started to trickle in. Meidroth after the after he needed his 2-week tune-up, aka service time manipulation. He came up 2 weeks into the season. Then what did Caro come up like early May, and then you had Teal come up in June. Then in July you had Montgomery. So like throughout the year we got these reinforcements, and the team looked like they were getting better. So I would call it more of an organizational thing. I've been a little critical about Brian Bannister so far. I feel like we should have seen a little bit more improvement this year, especially in the walks department. And even when you look at it just organizationally, I mean, young pitchers are always in the minors walking a lot, but you still see a lot of walks in the minors. You still see a lot of walks at the major league level. So I know they got rid of Ethan Katz, and everybody can say, well, they got rid of Ethan Katz, so that'll change now. Well, I don't buy that all that much either. So hopefully we start to see that pays more dividends. Kyle Fuller, it seems like the White Sox actually have a type now when it comes to a hitter, just kind of more of a patient approach, taking more pitches. We saw the walk rate go up a little bit. I'm sure Mike Tauchman's addition had a little bit to do with that. I'd like to see Montgomery walk a little bit more. But obviously, he's hitting a bunch of bombs, so maybe just don't mess with him. But yeah, long story short, to put a bow on all that, I think it was more of an organizational thing, and, showed the strength of the system with a lot of, their top prospects graduating to the minors. And I feel like there's not as many coming in 2026.
Right. I mean, maybe if they trade Luis Robert Jr., we'll get some influx. If Robert's good enough to even get a prospect haul, that's an influx. But yeah, the reinforcements are here. The reinforcements might come in the July draft, but you'll have to wait to figure out where you're even picking and then how you can even use that bonus pool number. Even to just go on to your point about Bannister, you look at the walk rate, 10.4, 10.3, 9.7. It's come down a little bit, but also the strikeouts have come down 23.3%, 21.9%, and 21%. And the thing that sticks out to me is you see some success with starters. Obviously, Crochet is undeniable, but Crochet seems like he would have been undeniable with any pitching coach. Shane Smith, easy win. Vassell, for the fact that he was a Rule 5 pick and discarded by the team that originally took him, to get a 2-WAR season out of him, that's a win. But the bullpen really hasn't produced a guy that it's like, wow. Like, Cam Boozer had a real good start, but I think most of that was like adrenaline for the 33-year-old that finally got to pitch in the major leagues, They haven't really developed a guy where it's like, oh, wow, here's the pitching lab developing this player. They've taken some players with high draft profiles and turned them into something all right, but I really haven't seen them in the pitch lab turning guys out consistently where, the Dodgers can take Will Klein, spike his slider, he throws it 4 miles per hour quicker, and now he's a demon in the World Series. Like, there isn't those success stories with the Sox yet.
No, and the funny thing is you mentioned Crochet, and back when he added a cutter to his repertoire in 2024, Bannister gave all the credit to Katz for that. So he was the one that was like, yeah, that was all Ethan's idea. So there's that. I don't, and to your point, he just might have been a dude. He was very adamant that he was a starting pitcher. He kind of knew what his talent was. So I don't know how much credit you can give to anyone else but Garrett Crochet there. And yeah, I mean, to your point about, the strikeouts being way down, usually if you've got guys that walk a bunch, they're usually striking out 10, 11, 12 per 9. And that kind of mitigates the walks. But they don't have that. But they are finding a way to miss the sweet spot of the bat, not giving up a ton of hard contact. And you saw them pick up Adrian Hauser, and he had a pretty high ground ball rate, and he was able to miss the sweet spot of the bat and keep the ball on the ground. So there are some small successes there too, Shane Smith. But like you said, Cam Boozer, a guy that they traded a high upside 19-year-old to get, which was like, okay, they really like this guy. They think they can turn him into something, and it just didn't work out. Jordan Leisure, I mean, very streaky. Grant Taylor, though, I mean, again, he had the high draft pedigree coming out of LSU, and he still might be a starting pitcher. So that's another interesting case going into next year. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more improvement from the bullpen. And they did improve. I should actually give them a little credit there. It was in high leverage. In high leverage, their ERA is like far and away the highest in baseball. So
right. I mean, 1-run games, it was still like 11-24, terrible win-to-loss ratio. Real quick, just some power questions before we get you out of here. Will the Sox spend over or under $85 million?
Under.
Okay. I feel like I agree with you, but then I did the math, and I just feel like it might be impossible. I know the A's do it. It might be impossible for a baseball team in 2025 to just spend $85 million. It seems like it's getting less and less feasible. Seems like why Jerry Reinsdorf's getting out of the business. That's neither here nor there. The topic of today's show is Chase Meidroth the future at second base. I think he's going to at least be on the opening day roster in 2026, but come 2027, will Chase Meidroth be their starting second baseman?
Hard to say. He hasn't proven it thus far. I think he's had a pretty nice rookie campaign. I like the debut season. He gets on base a lot, but again, doesn't hit for any power, which is maybe okay for a second baseman. Gloves nice, but I think he kind of settles into a role where he's the utility middle infielder, and still plays quite a lot. But then again, there's room for improvement. So you never know. It's hard to say, but if I had to take a stab at it, I would say no. I would say they'll find someone they like more, or someone who's just flat out better.
Right. I mean, Bonham, I'm blanking on the Carlson. Take your pick. Hopefully, one of them by 2027 is knocking Meidroth out. Feel free.
Or you never know. Maybe they make a trade or sign someone when they're a little bit closer to contention.
Jacob Gonzalez starts taking steroids, anything.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, BZ.
The new. Yeah.
Oh, no, feel free.
I was going to say the new version of the torpedo bat just changes his life.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe the barrel just gets a lot wider. They just don't check it at all for Jacob Gonzalez, and he just brings
the handle is the handle is just like a toothpick.
It's as big as a sword. Anyways, It's the Excalibur baseball bat. Anyways, that's BZ, Bez Beyond the Pen. Make sure you follow him on Twitter and read his work over on Tap. Does a great job covering the White Sox. Thank you so much, BZ, for your time. Glad we could finally make this work out.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sean.
Appreciate it. I don't even think I said that right. Glad we could finally make this work. I don't know. I would think it was a
glad to have you on.
Glad to have you on. That's a lot more.
Come
succinct.
back again.
We have to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We'll talk about Chase Meidroth here after the break. We got to let you know about our friends over at Bet365. We are currently in the midst of a 49-day streak of football being on your TV. Tonight there's football. Tomorrow there's football. Friday there's football. Saturday there's football. Sunday there's football, whether it's college or NFL. Bet365 is the place to bet. Download the app. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. If you bet $5, whether that bet of $5 wins or loses, you get $200 in bonus bets to bet on player props, spreads, futures, whatever your heart desires. And NHL is underway. Blackhawks just scored 7 goals. NBA is underway. I think the Bulls play tonight. Bulls play the Kings tonight, so you can have a little revenge game with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Ton of ways to have fun. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Place a bet for $5, and whether that bet wins or loses, you get $200 in bonus bets. Sign up with code CHGO365. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone who has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Ray CDJR. New vehicles are now in store at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and this is your chance to score a great deal at the Drive Into Fall event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from your huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. And right now, you can get 0% financing for 72 months available on new models. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. And with Ray's Price Promise, you could shop confidently with no add-ons or hidden fees ever. The price you see, is the price you pay. It's that simple with Ray CDJR. Go check out our partner on Route 12 in Fox Lake today. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. Don't miss out on the Drive Into Fall event for huge savings on new models. They've been serving the community since 1963. Back here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Thank you to BZ for joining us. Again, make sure you follow him over at Bez Beyond the Pen, over at On Tap Sports. Does a great job covering the White Sox. Very polished. Came in together already with the shot set up, right? He had great lighting, sounded clear. That's a pro.
Very excited.
I'm just excited. When producers don't have to produce, that's when you become someone's favorite.
It's my favorite day ever.
Right? You just click buttons.
I was yelling at the Hawks all morning.
Oh, because of that issue, or
was there an issue?
Oh, I don't know.
I was just saying I was yelling at them. Yeah, I was telling them what to do all morning.
Oh, that's because
they weren't listening. Silly. Yeah, they weren't listening.
I was gonna say stupid. We can just call them stupid. Anyways, let's get into Chase Meidroth. That is why you came here today. He is the headline. He's the thumbnail. We are taking the temperature with our friends over at Four Seasons. Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their money-saving coupons for all the right reasons. Call 866-4SEASONS. We're taking the temp with our friends over at Four Seasons. We're talking about Chase Meidroth's year. Chase, in 2025, after being a part of the Garrett Crochet package that included Braid Montgomery, Kyle Teal, Chase Meidroth, and Wikelman Gonzalez, Meidroth played 122 games, 505 plate appearances, had a 253 batting average, a 329 on-base percentage, and a 320 slugging percentage, an OPS plus of 84. As BZ mentioned, not a ton of pop, 20 doubles, homers, and triples. Even though he had a decent amount of speed, no triples, 15 doubles, 5 homers. He stole 14 bags, 4 caught stealing, and the big thing about him was his ability to draw walks in AAA. I believe he had over 100 in the Pawtucket system, or I think it was Worcester, whatever the AAA affiliate is of Boston. I believe he had 100 walks in that 2024 year. He only draws 45 walks this year, 72 strikeouts, so not the most exciting overall performance from Chase. I think a lot of people had expectations that he might be maybe a guy that people are sleeping on. He was really making smart swing decisions, and if he was able to walk, then maybe he'd have the right profile. But at the end of the day, 45 walks to 72 strikeouts, only 20 doubles, homers, and triples. Not really that enticing of a hit profile. He started off extremely hot. First 42 games, 300 average, 386 on base percentage, 373 slugging percentage, had 7 extra base hits on 45 hits, 21 walks to 20 strikeouts. If he could be back in that profile, I think that we could have something cooking. But my biggest issue with Chase Meidroth is his frame. I think Chase is a grinder. I think he's got TW, but at the end of the day, the athletes that make it are the athletes that are just built to make it. The Garrett Crochets, the Aaron Judges, the Giancarlo Stantons. I mean, even though Stanton gets hurt all the damn time, he's looks like a decent bargain at $15 million for 2025 because he's going to hit 55 homers because he's just a horse. Schwarber, even Raleigh, Raleigh's going to be a decent DH when his legs at some point go. I think Chase really pushed it. I think Chase wanted to make his mark on the White Sox early. In those first 40 games, I had our guy Herb Lawrence texting me, Meidroth's my favorite player since Frank Thomas. I wish I could have Herb on. This is obviously, stuff happened where I don't want Herb working for free for this company. But I would love to have Herb on to talk about that specific thing because he was a lightning rod to start off this year. He was an extremely exciting player. However, I think just the grind of 160 games, he only plays 122, took his toll. I think his consistent sliding, diving, getting hit by pitches, whatever it was, really started to toll up on him. There was true wear and tear on him. We could flash the report card now. For offense, I gave him a B-. For defense, I gave him a B. I think I'm honestly being too nice there even. And overall, I gave him a B-. I think I was more impressed. I thought there was enough flashes to where I could talk myself into him being the starting second baseman in 2026. He ultimately doesn't grade out where you want him to be offensively. I think the path for him to be a positive B+ to A- player is walking more. If he could have a somehow 1-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio, I think he could be a really great player. I think it's concerning when Marcus Timms is like, no, we want him to be aggressive. I think that's when we see him starting to struggle, is when he's not able to foul off pitches, draw off at-bats, and then get on base and be a gritty runner, right? Stealing bags, consistently trying to take that next base. He was a very aggressive, smart, and fast base runner. But at the end of the day, I don't think his body held up to give him the performance that he wanted to at the plate. His StatCast data looks decent, but the thing that sticks out is just his inability to drive the ball. He is able to not whiff at balls. He's able to not chase at balls. His chase rate, 84 percentile, his whiff rate, 96 percentile, his K percentage, 88 percentile, his walk rate, 58 percentile. With his chase rate, with his whiff rate, he should have a higher walk rate. He should be able to force guys into his zone, and if it's not in his zone, he should either be able to discard it and try to foul it off, and then as a normal contact hitter can, and then be able to like drive and hammer his pitches. If he could somehow put less balls in play, more meaningful balls into play, and draw more walks, that is the ability, or that is the key to him turning that offensive grade from a B- into a B+, A-. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's a tough road for him because it's going to have to happen this year. Because if not, I do think Bonnemer might be decent enough to maybe be the opening day second baseman come 2027, if there is a season. Maybe it's not Carlson. Specifically, his glove might be good enough for second base. I don't know if he'll be able to be that type of hitter at this young of an age, but like maybe even 2027 is when you think maybe it's not Meidroth. Maybe they try Brooks. Maybe they try Antonacci, who BZ brought up early. I think Chase really has to make his mark in the early part of the season. When we look at his defense, this is where I want to give him grace, because we give him a B. And if I was just going to grade him as his actual fielding position, the position that we're talking about him playing opening day 2026 at a second base, if I was just grading him at second base, I probably should give him like a C-, or maybe just a C, because he didn't grade off too well as a second baseman. I think that he's fairly slick at the position. I don't know if he's like bad necessarily. -1 DRS at second base, 1 fielding run value, no outs above average. When you look at shortstop, though, 3 outs above average, 3 fielding run value, -2 DRS. But I think with the splitting of time, with him having to play where Amaya was at for a decent amount of time and then having to move to second base, and even when Montgomery came up and they had to move him to third, and then Meidroth had to move over back to shortstop, like I don't think he got consistency at second base. But we learned that he's got a good amount of range, and he doesn't have a shortstop's arm. I just don't know if he's maybe quick enough to be a second baseman. I want to give him a shot because it seems like, again, he has that TW, and I think that his offensive, or his offseason this year is probably going to be put into, let's become the best defensive second baseman that I can be, because now he has a clearer position to play. But, not great. 450 innings at second base isn't a small sample size, and he wasn't that great. When he was moving in, he was worth 1 out above average. When he was moving towards third base, -1. When he was moving towards first base, +2. When he was moving back, -2. He struggled against left-handed batters, which I don't really know at second base why specifically. But I want to see him get more opportunity at second base, just because it was such a mishmash. 450 innings at shortstop, or 450 innings at second base, 568 innings at shortstop. There wasn't like a clear direction of, I'm a second baseman, I'm a shortstop. So I think overall that affected his defense. It probably should be a little bit harsher on the defensive grade, but I think that he looked better at a harder position, I want to give him grace coming into 2026. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. I'll talk about his overall grade, and then we'll talk about Jim Bowden trying to put a second baseman on the White Sox and really just forcing it after the break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays. Even though winter is coming, the sun will never hide, and that is why you need to check out our friends over at Shady Rays, the best sunglasses out there. I typically was a person on the spinning rack. I would just go up and buy the sunglass du jour, the sunglass of the day, and by a week, 2 weeks, I've either sat on them and smashed them, or I've just lost them because I didn't have the real desire to care about them. Shady Rays will not break the bank, will not set you back financially. There's a great deal that we got for you, and you'll look cool as hell. Shady Rays also has your back when it comes to losing or breaking them. Even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacement if you lose or break them. Shady Rays has changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life. They're seriously good looking. They're polarized. They're durable and not stupidly expensive. So you could wear your shades without fear and actually wear them. I used to not wear them because I was like, why am I buying them? I wear my Shady Rays. My eyes have thanked me. Shady Rays has been rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. You do not want to miss out on the best pair of sunglasses that you'll ever buy. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Game Time with NHL going on, with NBA going on, NFL, college basketball is going to be starting. Northwestern plays in Evanston. There's no better time or no better app to download than Game Time if you're trying to go to a sporting event in Chicago. Hey, maybe you're trying to go to a play. Maybe you're trying to go to a concert. Maybe you're trying to go to a stand-up event. Game Time, whatever the event is, they take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and with the Game Time guarantee, it means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. Our friends over at Game Time have taken the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Bulls take on the Kings. There's an event happening today in Chicago. Wait till like 7:10 until that game is about to start, and you can get some nice tickets to the Bulls-Kings game from Game Time. Use code CHGO. All right. Overall, we give Chase a B-, I think, because it was a B- and a B equals a B-. I try to weigh it a little bit more fairly than I did the Colson one yesterday, where 2 A- added up to an A+. I didn't know if Chase would even be in the talks for 2026. It was very possible that he could have had a 2025 bad enough where he would just be down in AAA and they would try Baldwin or sign a free agent, whatever. I am at least interested enough in Meidroth to give him a shot on opening day in 2026. When The Athletic puts out their top 50 projections for the free agents, and it's Jorge Polanco, it's Luis Arraez, it's Gleyber Torres, any second baseman that has, or any player that has the second base position next to him, Jim Bowden of The Athletic, put White Sox. I think that's because, maybe we didn't see or they didn't see exactly what we saw out of Chase. But if we're trying to build a team of 26 players, I think Chase brings a very interesting thing to the professional game. I think that he brings great contact. I think that he brings a great eye. I think that he brings a ton of hustle. Like, this would be a great bench piece, even if he's not a starter. I think he still can be a starter as well. I don't think the White Sox would be spending $12 million AAV on a Polanco, an Arraez, or a Torres to play second base for them. I think that they would likely see what they have in Meidroth because he was such an important piece of such an important trade. Because he could be a starter if he's able to talk about what we did offensively, draw a couple more walks. If he's able to become a 3 outs above average second baseman and a positive DRS second baseman, I think there's easily a spot for him. If he's around 100 OPS plus, an average hitter, getting on base, a 270 something average with like a 330, 40, 50 on base percentage, I think that they have something in a smart baseball player, a pretty aggressive baseball player that can play a position that calls for those things. I don't think the White Sox are spending on second base. They have a bigger issue or bigger hole at third base. And if they don't have a hole at third base, they have a hole at first base, right? If they don't have a hole at first base because Vargas is there, they have a hole at third base. They need a corner way more than they need a second baseman. And that's why I do think Meidroth will be the starting second baseman come 2026. I think he showed you enough in 2025 for them to give him the backing of that. So, Chase, see what you can do. As BZ brought up, Sam Antonacci has been one of the hottest players in the AFL. He was the hottest player named by Baseball America when it comes to the top 10 hot sheet for the AFL. And the write-up for Antonacci after he goes 9 for 13, a 692 average, a 765 on base percentage. While Antonacci may lack the prototypical power of an AFL standout, his blend of contact, approach, and speed was very much on display last week. The 22-year-old was impossible to get out as he reached base in 13 of his 17 trips to the batter's box. Once on base, he put his wheels to good use, stealing 5 bases. The former Coastal Carolina standout enjoyed a breakout season in 2025, hitting .291, .433, and .409 with 48 stolen bases across 116 games. Antonacci lacks the impact typical of an everyday regular, but he shows a nice combination of plate skills and speed that could soon earn him the opportunity in the majors. I don't think that he's a what? Oh, sorry, that DC comment caught me. We'll catch it in a second. Antonacci screams like different Chase, right? You're still looking for somebody with speed, somebody with decent swing skills. Like, if Chase can prove that to the White Sox, I think that they'd be more willing to give Chase that starting job until a Bonham or a Carlson pushes him out. I don't think an Antonacci would put Meidroth out of a job if Chase is playing well. Antonacci, I think, is going to hit a wall at some point. The AFL is not made out of top-end pitchers. The pitchers that are worth a damn have thrown all of their innings in a minor leagues at the AA, AAA level. Maybe there's some guys like a Grant Taylor who missed parts of the season last year and they need to get in work. That's what the AFL could be for. But Antonacci going 9 for 13, and even a 13 for 17 on base run, like, it's not really getting me that excited for the AFL. Chase, in those 42 games with the Sox, 300 average, 370 on base percentage. I think that's worth chasing. No pun intended. So that's it on the Chase stuff. Going to the Bowden article, there was 2 other names that he linked, Trent Grisham and Adrian Hauser. I feel like the Hauser is a very lame and lazy connection for Bowden to put Hauser there. I'd be more interested in the White Sox, barking up the Jose Quintana tree. He put just Quintana as a fit for, or the Brewers as a fit for Quintana. If you're mulling the idea of bringing back Martin Perez, why not Quintana? He's just better Perez. He seems like a more durable Perez. And I understand it's, what we've had before, but that Quintana moment was very, very far down the line. You could ask yourself, why would he want to come here? But he has been here. Milwaukee's not too far away. At the end of the day, if they give him more money, the Brewers aren't really, backing it up. If the White Sox give him an aggressive offer, I wouldn't hate Quintana on the south side. So I don't know about Hauser specifically. I would like to maybe look at a lefty. And then when it looks to Grisham, I don't hate it. I've brought it up myself. It's a really interesting year from Grisham in New York. He hits 34 homers. It's a 234 average, 348 on base percentage, a 464 slugging, a 125 OPS plus. He did have an OPS plus over 120 before in the season. It was the COVID year, 59 games, a 123 OPS plus. And then in 2021, 132 games, a 106 OPS plus. He's got a pretty decent glove. His two Gold Gloves in his career before. Part of the reason he had a 3.5 WAR this year is because of his glove. But I don't know if they're just going to spend on that. I think Tauchman is just more in their line. When BZ says under $85 million, I really don't see them going over $85 million. I'm unfortunately on BZ's side. I think that they're going to try to spend as little money as possible. I know we have a relationship with CHSN right now, so I don't want to rock the boat too much. But I know they were very excited about the Bulls' performance on CHSN 2 nights ago or whatever. And that was like the most watched game on CHSN. They were very proud to put that out on Twitter. CHSN isn't really raking it in. I don't really think that they're going to have the funds necessary to be at that $85 million level. And if you're, making a decision between Grisham and Tauchman, it's probably about $10 million in between those players. So I think Tauchman's likely going to be your guy. As much as I hate to admit it, Grisham is more fun. Grisham is the quote-unquote sexier option than Tauchman. I don't see it happening at the end of the day, which sucks. Because I think that this team, as BZ put it, the 2019 team that was 72-90, at All-Star break, they were 500. If they had those reinforcements where they don't have a 35-year-old Mike Tauchman whose wheels were coming off in 2025, and they have Grisham, who maybe will be able to give them more of a consistent floor, maybe they're able to tread water a little bit longer, and it's a 79-83 year rather than 72-90. So I hopefully you'd see Trent Grisham this offseason, but I think it's a little bit unrealistic. All right, we do have 2 comments that I want to get to. Fantasy Cast says, "Hey everyone, happy to be here. Sox fan who lives in DC. Once every 5 years, I'll see someone in a Sox hat and we lock eyes and nod. It's beautiful." So hell yeah. He also said, "People would stop me on the street last season and genuinely express sympathy for the Sox season." I replied, "Nowhere to go up." People are generally supportive of the White Sox. It's a very recognizable logo. I mean, look at how slick this jacket is. Boom. And I think there was another comment up. Rockin' Rick BVP says, "What's up, Southsiders? Wish I was home, but still watch from the West Coast." Shout out to you. Also, shout out to, there was a Spotify comment that I want to give a mention to. My guy, Skid Daniels, said 6 days ago, "Sean, a.k.a. Dope." Shh. So, no, like he was calling me, like I'm dope. Like I'm dope. I guess I can swear. We're not on fast.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm dope shit, I'll take that. I'm dope shit. So shout out to
take that every day
Daniels.
of the week.
Yeah, why not? But then there's also a comment, just up one more. Vance Lubin saying, "Do you think Brooks Baldwin can make the necessary adjustments to become a decent outfielder?" I'd like to see the offseason. He's got a pretty decent way to go. I don't know if he'll have a ton of opportunities, but if he is some sort of a platoon with Benintendi, Tauchman, etc., we'll see what happens. We're going to wrap the show here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. That has been Chase Meidroth's Report Cards. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro and give them report cards. I think I haven't done that yet, and we'll have to do that. We'll have to talk about all the important rookies that have made an impact on the 2025 White Sox. We will talk to you tomorrow at 4:30 here on the CHGO White Sox podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.